Hi, my name is Anna. First of all, I want to thank you for taking your time to watch this video. Also, I want to thank my teacher, Rubén Santos, Instituto, Soy el que yo soy, and the technical team that are giving me the opportunity to communicate with you today. I want you to understand that you are the most important person for me right this minute. If I had the privilege of meeting you today, I am certain that I would accept you the way you are. I would not be judgmental. I would give you room to be yourself. Whether I liked the way you do things or the way you behave. I have learned that I am the only one that I know why I do and act the way I do. The same way I have no idea why you behave and do things the way you do. And it is not to me to judge you for what you do. This is what I have been doing for the last 15 years since I met my teacher, Rubén Santos. I love him dearly. He is my friend. I have learned from him that life goes around in cycles, in circles. If these are positive, excellent, because for sure they are going to repeat themselves and you are going to obtain the same results. However, if those cycles bring you negative results, they are going to repeat themselves again and you are going to end up with the same results that are negative, that bring you sadness, tears, etc. I have learned that to accomplish this change, this process of self-discovery, you have to work on yourself. No one can do it for you. You have to be committed to yourself. I met my teacher, Rubén Santos, about 15 years ago. At the time, my mom was living with me. She was suffering from pain in her legs for several years, minimum 5 to 7 years. I had spent thousands of dollars trying to bring people, healers to help my mom relieve her from that pain. The most that would happen is that she would be pain-free for maybe 4, maximum 6 hours. By the grace of God, I ended up going to a meeting in Austin, Texas, 15 years ago, and the subject of this meeting was past lives. The first session of that meeting, the speaker decided to give all of us the opportunity to come up to the front and share with the group the reasons why we were there and, more or less what our expectations were. When it was my turn, I remember clearly that what I said is that I had been searching for years and years for something in my life. I didn't know what it was, but that I had the feeling that I was going to find it there. When it was my teacher's turn to speak, from the very start, I realized that he was a different person, that he had different abilities, that he was not a regular person. By the end of the meeting, I finally took the courage to come up to him and ask him if he please would come to my house to try to help my mom with the pain. Graciously, he accepted. And so like about a couple of months after the meeting, he and his wife came to my house. Of course, the first thing we did is to go to my mom's room. I don't think that it took him not even 2-3 minutes when he turns to me and he says, Anna, there is too much water here in this room. I had absolutely no idea what he was referring to. What he meant is that there were several objects in the room that represented water, and that was not a good thing for my mom. I want to, in parentheses, I want to mention that it doesn't mean that water is not good for you or for other people. It was the amount of water that was in that room at that time was too much for my mom. To make it worse, I had 2 mirrors in that room. I didn't have any idea, or I never thought of that mirrors multiply. And so what was happening is that my mom's pain was intensified by the presence of the mirrors in the room. So Rubén Santos asked me permission and asked her for permission to remove and to do whatever he thought it was appropriate for the situation. Of course, we accepted. Right away, he just took everything again that represented water, like posters, a blanket. He removed the mirrors. He also changed the orientation of my mom's bed. At the time, I did not understand, what effect it's going to have on my mom. To make a long story short, the next day, my mom was the happiest person in the world. She had had a night with no pain. She was able to sleep through the night. This is I could say, a testimony that I can give regarding the situation with my mom. From that time on, what happened to me is that I started with the process of discovery. I learned how to express myself, not to use negative sentences to say something. I'm going to give an example of related to food. I have always watched my calories. I have certain number of calories that, as you can see, I'm sort of small, and so I cannot overeat. And I do it because I have a problem with my back, and if I gain weight, all I was going to do is just harm myself. So I would start out the day by saying, today I am not going to eat carbohydrates. I am not going to eat meat, red meat. Guess what would happen? That day, all I had in my mind is sugar, sweets, steak, and at the end of the day, I would end up eating more than I had really planned. I think that at this point, I have given more or less I have given you more or less a summary of what I have done over the last 15 years. A few months after my teacher, Rubén Santos, came to my house to help my mom, I was diagnosed with lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. I went through a series of chemotherapy for 8 to 9 months. During this time, I was very close to pass on to the next world. Different situations, different days. And I am totally convinced today that if it hadn't been for his intervention, for his help, I would not be standing here in front of you. At one point during this process, I was admitted at one of the cancer centers in the United States that is well known, and I was treated, I would say, for the best doctors in the subject. After a week of being there, the doctors asked me to leave the hospital. Maybe I would get better outside of the hospital. When I was admitted, I had ulcers in my mouth, I had pneumonia, I had colitis. I was in isolation for a whole week. And as I mentioned, they did everything they could, and I would not get better. Rubén was with me during all this time, and if it had not been for him, I would not be standing here today. And this is not the only occasion that he has rescued me, and he has rescued my close family from having major disasters, even losing our lives. I think at this point I would like to close that the purpose of this presentation was to share my experience with you. Rubén Santos is a very, very special person. I could go on with a long list of things to describe him, but I choose not to do it, just to give you the opportunity to do it by yourself. My testimony right now is that I am the testimony because I am talking to you today. I wish you give yourself a chance to meet him, whether it is through the internet or in person, or I don't know, there are so many means of communicating nowadays that the only thing that is needed is that you make up your mind and you decide to investigate by yourself who I am talking about. What he is going to do is to try to help you become aware of who you are, or why you do things the way you do. He's going to give you tools, but we need commitment for you to follow him, to follow his advice, to try to understand what he is trying to teach you. No one can do it for you. You have to do it yourself. Just to finish this, I want to say that I wish and I pray that this video goes through the entire world, to the darkest corners of the world. Notice that I am not using the word viral. To me, viral implies illness, implies something negative. And the message that I am trying to give you is just the opposite. It's a message of health, of happiness, of serenity, totally opposite to what the other word means. And the very last thing, if you give me the opportunity, is that I realized that maybe it was my mom who brought him to me. And as you can see, I'm not spring chicken anymore. I'm probably older than you. There is a very good chance that I'm older than you. So I choose to pretend that I am your mom, and I'm bringing him to you. And I hope from deep in my heart that you pass on the knowledge that you are going to acquire, that you pass on this to your children, to your friends, grandchildren, to whoever is around you. I promise you that you do not go wrong if you decide yourself to join us and to follow the teachings of my teacher, Rubén Santos. Instituto, yo soy el que yo soy. Thank you. Namaste.